Detail, attention! Captain is all present for accounted for, sir.
Very well. Take your post. Detail! Parade! Rest! Good morning. On behalf of the Indiana State Police, I would like to welcome all of you assembled here to our Lafayette Memorial Ceremony, as well as the Concerns of Police Survivors Memorial Ride that's taking place here today. To start our ceremony off, I would like to invite Chaplain McReynolds to come up to the podium and give us an invocation.
Let us pray. O Lord, who gives us life and who has promised to be with us always, with gratitude and humility, we thank you for this day of remembrance. Remembering the brothers and sisters with whom we served, upon whom we could always depend, regardless of the circumstances, who always had our backs. We remember sons, brothers, husbands, and fathers who served with dedication, courage, and sacrifice, who made the ultimate sacrifice so that we could pursue our dreams. Oh Lord, we can never thank them adequately, but may we continue to remember them and keep alive the spirit of dedicated service. Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Let us remember and be thankful. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain. Good morning. I want to welcome you here again. If you've been to a memorial service in the past, this one's going to go a little bit different. While we are ever mindful of all state troopers and all law enforcement officers who have given the ultimate sacrifice, today we are here to pay honor and tribute and remember the troopers from the Lafayette post who have given their lives in the line of duty. I want to extend a special welcome and thanks for being here to Superintendent Carter and members of his staff, to our honored guests and elected officials, to the surviving family members of fallen officers who are here with us today, to the members of Concerns of Police Survivors who are here today doing the memorial stationary bike ride. I also want to welcome the representatives, our fellow law enforcement officers from various agencies around the Lafayette District. This has been a difficult year for all of us. With the coronavirus, we were all a little bit disappointed, actually quite a bit disappointed, that we couldn't have our normal ceremony. It was something that I personally, I know everybody here was looking forward to be able to have first ceremony to read Trooper Bo Stevens' name and to honor him and remember him for all of us who served alongside him. We were also looking forward to the Cops Memorial Ride making their stop here, but their ride was also canceled. But when they told us that this would be that they would be coming here for a stationary bike ride on today, I thought this was an opportunity that presented itself for us to honor Trooper Bo Stevens. But there's more to that. You know, in a normal memorial ceremony, we read 47 names, with Trooper Bo Stevens being the 47th. But as you listen to those 47 names, one thing stands out as you listen to it, and that's that the Lafayette Post is mentioned more than any other district. It's mentioned 7 times, starting with Trooper Minneman and concluding with Trooper Stevens. When I first came here to Lafayette after graduating the academy, the very first memorial service that I went to, the very last name that was read was Trooper Todd Berman. But since that time, the Indiana State Police has added 13 more names to our list of troopers and employees who have given their lives in the service of the state of Indiana. Many of you might remember the night that Trooper Stephen was killed, and I spoke to some of you in the training room, and I said that my sincere hope and prayer for all of you during your careers was that you would never have to go through a night like we all experienced on the night of October 11th. Today I've got a different hope for all of you, and that is that you will continue out through your careers with the Indiana State Police, and that for your entire career, the very last name that's read on the memorial ceremony is Trooper Bo Stephen. I know that that is a lofty goal, and I know that given our line of work, it's hard to imagine that you will go through your career without the loss of another officer, whether it's here at the Lafayette post or anywhere else around the state. But that's my hope and that's my prayer. And because I have faith in a God for whom all things are possible, that's what I'm going to cling to, and that's going to be my prayer every night for you, the troopers out on patrol, for all of us going to work every day, doing this job to the best of our abilities. So in addition to Bo, I thought we should honor the other troopers from the Lafayette post in this ceremony. Again, still being mindful of the other troopers from around the state who have given their lives. But today we're going to do it a little bit differently and just read the names of the 7 Lafayette troopers, because they've set the standard for us here at District 14, not just on how they sacrificed, but in how they lived, how they performed their duties, how they gave their very best, and they set the example and they set the standard for the rest of us to follow. So today we take some time out of our day to honor those that have gone before us, to remember our comrades, to remember those that we worked with here at District 14, and to celebrate their lives and their dedication to duty. I'd like to introduce now Superintendent Carter to make some remarks to the ceremony.
Tom hit on 2020 being such a complicated year. I long for today so that we could take just a moment in time to be somewhat normal in such a very, very sad, difficult time. My, how things have changed since October of last year. And I'm pretty sure that Bo's family would want me to tell you to stay the course, because we have hard days ahead. The night of October the 11th is ingrained and entrenched in my mind forever. I'll never forget that scene. I'll never forget standing there with my wife, my daughter, and you. And there's not a day that's gone by, not a day that's gone by, or I haven't thought for and prayed for you and for Bo's family. It was certainly my hope in my tenure that this day would not come, that October 11th would not come, that I would see you hurting so badly. But it did. And you all have inspired me more than I can possibly describe, watching from afar. And for that, I offer my sincere thanks and gratitude, because we really never know when this is going to end. So here we are today, in a beautiful day in this very place. This will be a memory that will be etched in my mind again at this post forever. One of the things that has been so important to me is to always remember, even when life has to go on. I hope that there would never come a day when I had to place another name on our memorial boards. But today is the day for Bo. The challenges of 2020 slowed things down a bit. But this is the first one that will be placed today on your memorial board before any others are taken around the state, which I'll do in the coming weeks. But I think it's very fitting and very appropriate that Jessica, Bo's mom and dad and sister, certainly little Harper, Jessica's mom, have the opportunity to do this. And I hope that when this is over, we can surround them once again and place this where it will sit and stand for eternity. I appreciate you all more than I can possibly describe. And I'm so grateful to be able to be or play just a little bitty part in your life. Lieutenant McKee.
Thank you, sir. I'd now like to introduce Jessica Stephen, who made a special request to be able to address District 14 during this ceremony.
This year has definitely been one for the books. When I look back at the 2019 memorial service, I never imagined how different all of our lives would be come 2020. Some of you may have heard me talk about last year's memorial service, but others may not have. Last year's memorial service was on a Thursday, and that was actually Bo's regular day off that week. Thursdays happened to be my Monday, and a few days prior, Bo had asked me to take the night off so that we could have an extra night off together to prepare for Harper and her arrival. That morning when he got up, he asked me if I would go with him to the memorial service, as I had missed the past few years due to work and school. I knew the importance of these services, so I agreed. I was extremely uncomfortable that day though, so I ended up staying inside and watching this on the cameras while simultaneously helping get things set up for our meal. I never would have thought though that the first memorial service I attended would end up being the last one that Bo was alive for. I would have never imagined that a year later, he would be among our 44 troopers that have died in the line of duty. None of us did, yet here we are. I wanted the opportunity to address District 14 as a whole, because I think it's important that you all know how much I appreciate what each and every one of you has done over the last 343 days. Yeah, it's been 343 days since Bo died. It's crazy that we are so close to the 1 year of his end of watch, and it's been quite a journey for each of us. District 14 is a special place. You've heard me say that many times. You all were family to me before he died, and we always discussed how much we loved District 14, even though it wasn't initially where we wanted to be. We talked about how much we loved that it was a younger post because so many of us were in similar stages of life. This place was home, and this place was family. I spent way too many hours hanging out at this place while Bo was post command or just riding along with Bo. But it gave me a very unique opportunity to get to know so many of you. And thank you will never be enough to you as a district for how you have stepped up this year to make sure Harper and I are taken care of and to make sure that Bo is remembered. I have no doubt that Bo would be so very proud of each of you for how you have taken care of us, as well as for how you have continued to protect those in District 14. He always promised that you all would have my back, and you all have, so thank you for that. But I have some very special thank yous that need to be said publicly. I promised each person that I did talk to that I wasn't going to mention their names, but you will all likely know who I'm talking about, and if you don't, my hope is that you'll still get an idea of how special this district is and how they have cared for me and played a role in the last 343 days of my life. Let's just start from that fateful night. Two of you did what was probably one of the hardest moments in your career. Two of you made notification to me that night. I'll never forget the look on both of your faces as I entered the door. I knew something was very wrong before either one of you said a word. It may seem weird to say thank you for that moment, but thank you for doing the best that you could to deliver the worst news in the gentlest of ways. A little while later, there would be another trooper show up that would then make up the two troopers that would end up assigned to me. You both had no idea what you were getting yourselves into, and I'm really sorry you got stuck with me, but I'll get back to you two in a moment. To the trooper that found Bo. I will never pretend to know what it was like when you saw his car crashed on Old 25. I know from listening to the radio traffic that you were doing everything that you could to get to him. I could hear it in your voice how much your mind was racing, and yet you continued to do your job to try to get Bo out of that car. I know you probably wish that things could have ended differently and that you could have done more, but in my eyes, you did everything that you could. I'm just grateful that it was an ISP trooper that found him that night, because I know the response time was even quicker. To the trooper that he was responding to. We've had lots of conversations about what happened that night, And like I've told you before, he would have responded to you no matter what the call was. He was always going to have your back. You were one of the 3 troopers that he trained for more than a day, and he always said good things about you. You need to know how much I appreciate your willingness to talk to me about what happened that night. By you doing so, I was better able to understand what happened leading up to him leaving the house that night. You helped me process a lot of what occurred. I can only hope that somehow I was able to help you in return. Thank you for checking in and for always being there. But especially thank you for the night that you surprised me after we had the COVID shutdown and you asked if I was home. I'll never forget you telling me to look outside and see you standing outside of your car. That was the first visitor that I had had since this whole pandemic started, and it meant the world to me. And one more thing, thank you for always being one of the 2 that he played video games with. He needed that outlet that the 2 of you brought him. To his other video game partner. I don't even know where to start because there's so much to tell you thank you for. The night of Bo's crash is still fresh in my mind. I know I didn't make eye contact with everyone that night, but I do remember making eye contact with you on more than one occasion. The first was at the health department. You quickly looked away, and I could see the brokenness in your eyes. And when we got to the post later that morning, as I sat in the back of the room, I could see as you continued to check to see if I was okay. And when everyone got up to leave and the hugs began, and you came up to me, I could really tell just how broken you were. You weren't one that ever showed much emotion, but that morning you did. It wasn't until I came to the post to get out of the house the day after the crash that I knew you and your family would end up part of my life forever. As I sat with my dispatch friends, I watched as you and your wife would occasionally look back to check on me. When you both went to leave, you once again were making sure I was okay. I didn't realize that would only be the beginning. When all of you began to return to work, you did something I never expected, but have always greatly appreciated. Almost every night that you worked for the first couple of weeks back on the road, you always came over to make sure I was okay and to get some playtime in with Harper. She's obviously everyone's favorite because she's been a bright spot in the dark time. But thank you for your willingness to come over and talk about what happened that night. You were the first of the troopers on scene that helped me by telling me what they saw and helped me paint a picture of what had happened. But there's one particular night that stands out that you really need to be thanked for. It was one of those really difficult nights and I was grieving pretty hard. I ended up calling my mom panicked because I didn't know what to do. She told me to call one of the guys and see if they'd be willing to come over and sit with me to help calm me down. I had no clue who was working that night, and I couldn't even process trying to call Region 1, so I ended up calling my dispatch and asked if they would transfer me up to Lowell. When they answered, I asked if anyone was in the North Zone working, and she told me that you were. Through tears, I asked if you were on a call, and when she said no, I asked her to see if you would come out to the house because I wasn't okay and couldn't be alone. Through tears, I asked when you texted me and told me that you were on the way, I knew all would be okay. You spent the remainder of your shift at the house that night typing a report and helping me through a really difficult night. Thank you for being there in those moments. Thank you for being there to put Harper's Christmas and birthday presents together because we know I'm not the most handy. But more than anything, thank you for the friendship that you had with Bo. When Bo switched from day shift to his different mid shift, one thing he couldn't stop talking about was how excited he was to have you as a shift partner. I remember the last full shift that he worked, he came home and woke me up to tell me about what had happened. I distinctly remember him saying, I immediately called out to said trooper to tell me the vehicle was headed his way. And although we didn't get him, it was nice to know that I actually had someone just down the road. I know both of you had conversations prior to him switching about how excited the 2 of you were to be working together again. And I'm so grateful that you both had that time together, even if it was cut short. You meant the world to him, and I know he would be so grateful for how you have taken care of his girls. To Bo's day shift partner. We established a while back that I may always hold a slight grudge against you. But honestly, those are some of my favorite memories when you and Bo were on nights. When you became his day shift partner, I was skeptical because I knew you would both stay in opposite counties. That's just how you guys worked. But my tune soon changed when anytime he needed you, you were there to help him. I know he was always there when you needed him too. After Bo died, you and your wife surrounded me with love and support I never knew I was needing. You guys spent time at my house to just hang out, and you've both come over at random. You've both texted me at all hours of the days and night to let me know that you're here for me and that you love me and Harper. In the days immediately following Bo's crash, you even stopped by the house while on shift to check in, and even a few times brought me my favorite meal from Chick-fil-A. I am so glad I know you. I wish we had all been as close as we are now when Bo was alive, because I think we would have had some great times together. Thank you guys for loving us. I'm not exactly sure how to introduce this trooper, but we met when he was in FTO phase. Bo asked me to go to breakfast with them when I got off work. I have to say thank you for the times you stopped to check in and the text to make sure I'm okay. Most of all, I have to thank you for a time that you really helped me out. You see, I got really sick back in February. I couldn't get off the floor, and I started calling around to see who could take me to the hospital, because if you know me, I wasn't about to call an ambulance. You showed up that night when I was at one of my weakest moments and sat with me in the ER waiting room and waited with me until you knew I was being taken care of. You will never know how much I appreciated your help that night. It wasn't a moment that I'm proud of, but I was incredibly grateful to have someone help me through the night. To my dear friend who was pregnant at the same time as me. It was at the memorial service last year that we actually met in person. I had already felt like I'd known you since our due dates were a week apart, and you and Bo talked about how you and I were doing all the time. When Bo died, you became one of my closest mom friends, and I'll never forget the night you came over and we let the babies play while we just spent time talking. You have been a source of motherly advice and an all-around great friend. Thank you for always being willing to help me figure out this journey called motherhood. I've loved being on the journey with you. This person I can't talk about without naming him. So Superintendent Carter, you wrote a huge thank you. You said at Bo's funeral that you would never forget the embrace that your wife and I shared with you prior to walking into the health department to see Bo. And I won't forget that moment either. I will always remember the heartache in your eyes as we sat in that tiny room in the health department trying to make sense of what had happened. Thank you for standing with me while I saw Bo for the first time after his crash. I don't think I could have handled that alone. Thank you for being there in the coming days after. One moment I remember is when you stood with me while I said goodbye to Bo the night of the viewing. As we walked back to the doors of the auditorium sanctuary, you stopped and you hugged me. You cried and you told me how sorry you were, but also how proud you were of me. And then you laughed when you realized I wasn't wearing shoes. Someone got that moment on camera, and I'm really glad they did. Thank you for being the father figure I needed in those moments. Thank you doesn't even begin to touch my appreciation for everything you have done to help me make sense of Bo's crash. You provided as much information as you possibly could, and I know some of that wasn't information you wanted to give me because you wanted to protect my heart. But by you doing so, I have accepted things I likely would not have otherwise. Thank you for always looking out for me and my best interest. And thank you to you and your family for welcoming me and Harper as part of yours. I hate that this is how we are connected, but I'm thankful for you and your family because now I can't imagine our lives without you. These next two troopers are going to be the hardest to talk about, simply because they have played such a special role in my life. These next two ended up assigned to me, and I'm really sorry you guys got stuck with me. But the first one was Bo's shift partner on night shift and one of his best friends. First off, thank you for being one of his best friends. I'll never forget how many times he would be talking to me on the phone only to tell me that he had to go because you were calling him. You were one of only 2 people he would ever hang up a phone call with me for. Thank you for being a shift partner your rookie year. After a year of Bo basically having no shift partner, I was so grateful that you were his. And I was even more thankful when I realized how much the two of you got along and how well you worked together. You were the first trooper that I felt like I could even consider a friend. You helped make notification to me the night that Bo died. And honestly, having you there meant the world to me on the worst night of my life. You picked me up off the floor and held me while I cried. You sat with me while trying to help me make sense of it all. The next morning, when I couldn't sleep, I remember texting you and asking if you would come over with your wife because I really didn't want to be alone, and I would love to have company. I'll never forget how quickly you both showed up. But I have to pause briefly to thank your wife. Thank you for being there when you didn't have to be. Thank you for being my first spouse friend at District 14. I don't even know when our friendship really began, but I just remember knowing I could trust you. I mean, there aren't many people I would allow to hold my newborn daughter the day we came home from the hospital. In fact, you were the first person outside of family that I even allowed to hold her. You didn't ask, I just handed her to you. But the moment I'm the most thankful for was the day after Bo died when you and your husband came over. You sat beside me on the couch the entire day and you talked with me about everything. When the masses of people kept coming in, you were there to help me talk to people when I didn't really know what to say. Simply having you there was what I needed. Thank you for being there for me and for your constant encouragement no matter what kind of day you were having. I am so grateful to know you. But back to your husband. Thank you for standing by my side through so many moments this year. Thank you for always being willing to drive us to GHQ for various events. I'm pretty sure we helped add a couple thousand miles to your brand new car just in the things that we have done this year. Most of all, thank you for being a friend to Bo. Thank you for the times you backed him up on calls and for always being there for us. You were a true friend to Bo, and I know he would be so proud of you for how you've been there for us this last year. We couldn't do it without you. The final trooper I have to thank really deserves an award for how much he has had to deal with me during this last year. You ended up at my house the night Bo died because someone called you. I don't think you had any idea that you had just ended up doing something that would get you stuck dealing with me all the time. Prior to that night, I didn't know you that well. All I knew was that you had trained Bo, and you were one that I firmly believe shaped him into the kind of trooper that he was. I'll never forget him being in FTO phase with you and him calling me on his way home to say, "My FTO yelled at me today." Well, why? Because I let someone do something that could have gotten us both hurt. Well, good, I'm glad he yelled at you. It sounds like you deserved it. Truly, though, he talked about you training him a lot, so I knew when you ended up being one of the ones that was going to be assigned to me, I knew I was going to be taken care of. Thank you for all the times you made sure I was eating in those first few days, even if it was just Chick-fil-A or chicken nuggets somewhere. Thank you for going with me to plan some details at the church. You are the only trooper that had the privilege of seeing the relief on my face when you told me that they had found Bo's phone and that it was unharmed. That's a long story, but that moment was incredibly special. Thank you for staying up with me while I attempted to write my speech for Bo's funeral. We know I probably wouldn't have gotten it done otherwise. But there aren't many people I would reach out for help for, let alone call them crying when I needed to take my daughter to the doctor because she's having an allergic reaction. Thank you for showing up that day. I could stand here for hours and list hundreds of things to say thank you for because you have been here for it all. From almost daily phone calls while I was trying to figure out adjusting to working again, to mowing my yard, to being the person I called when I ended up in an accident, and every single moment in between. I truly couldn't have gotten through this last year without you. Thank you will never be enough. To District 14. Thank you for your help this last year. Thank you for helping remember Bo and the little things. Thank you for helping us celebrate Harper's first birthday. As much as I know that wasn't how I wanted to spend her birthday, knowing that you guys took the time to drive by meant the world. I know one day it will mean the world to her too. Bo had some incredible coworkers, and I can't wait for her to continue to get to know all of you as she gets older. As you guys can see, many troopers have played a direct role in helping take care of me for this last year. This is just a small example of how a district can support their surviving family members. And in my opinion, District 14 has set the bar. I don't know that anyone is ever going to be able to top how this district has cared for us, and I honestly hope that no one ever has to take care of a surviving family again. But thank you for being an example and for loving us and caring for us every step of the way. I want to leave you guys with a challenge as a way to keep Bo's memory alive. You all know how incredible he was as a husband to me and a father to Harper. You also know that he may not have been considered the #1 trooper in most areas, but what he was known for was his thoroughness, his dedication, and his willingness to serve and protect anyone, no matter the time of day and no matter the call. Bo was admired by so many of you. Take a quality of his that you admired and allow yourself to become more like him. Maybe you admired how he was always willing to go to calls. Maybe instead of waiting for someone else to go, you say, "I'll go." Maybe you saw how much we had an open relationship and talked to each other about everything. Maybe that can change how you and your spouse or significant other communicate. Trust is something sacred, though. Don't forget that. No matter what, when you put on your uniform and go 1041 each day, always remember that one of your friends and co-workers no longer has that opportunity. And if he could, he would still be putting on the uniform with each of you every day to go help all of you, no matter what the call. To Bo, you'd be so proud of our ISP family and especially of District 14. They won't forget and they will continue to honor you. You left a mark on all of our lives that will never go away. You're an incredible husband, father, trooper, and friend, and you exemplified so many qualities of what being a state trooper was. You were someone so very special, and I am forever proud to have been your wife. Harper will always be proud of her dad. And I know this district will always be proud to have worked alongside of you because you were a phenomenal trooper and friend. We will forever remember you, and thank you for giving me a forever family.
Thank you, Jessica. I want you to know that it has been an honor and a privilege for all of us to take care of you and to take care of Harper. And I meant it that very first night on October 11th when I told the district that it's our job to take care of you. And all you have to do is call. Anything you need, we'll all be here for you. We are your forever family. I'd now like to introduce State Senator Brian Buchanan. He's going to come up and say a few words. State Senator Buchanan sponsored the bill, which renamed part of the Hoosier Heartland after Bo.
Good morning. Honored to be here to remember all those who have made the ultimate sacrifice, protecting all of us. My family and I, we have great appreciation for all of those involved in law enforcement and public safety and the commitment, the bravery, and the courage that you display each and every day. So thank you for what you do. Most of us instinctively, I think by human nature, tend to run anywhere there's a dangerous situation, or there's uncertainty, or a situation that could cause personal harm or injury. And police officers, those involved in law enforcement, are trained to do the exact opposite, to serve us and protect us. And whenever there's someone in need, you don't ask questions who's in need or what the situation is. You simply go and you help. And we greatly appreciate that, and greatly appreciate all that you do to serve us. And roughly a year ago on October 11th, I know Trooper Peter Bo-Stephen did that. A call came across the radio, one of his fellow law enforcement officers in need, and he didn't ask questions. He didn't ask what the situation was. He simply went to go help his fellow law enforcement officer. So we are forever grateful. Jessica, we're forever grateful for his service to all of us, and he will always be remembered for his law enforcement service. And I will say this morning, the reason I'm here is a few months after the incident, after Trooper Peter Bo-Stephen was killed in the line of duty. A few troopers from this post contacted me about renaming a portion of Indiana Highway 25 in his memory. And with the help of my fellow legislators in the Indiana Senate and Indiana House, we did pass a resolution doing that. And we do have a sign over here to officially make this official dedication day for the highway, to a portion of it to be renamed the Trooper Peter Bo-Stephen Memorial Highway. And I believe now, I was told by the Indiana Department of Transportation helped out as well. The signs are either up right now or going up right now. So if you have time between Lafayette and Delphi, the sign should be up by the time we conclude this service and with our meal afterwards. So with that, I believe Lieutenant will unveil the sign. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Buchanan. Also, for after the ceremony, we've been provided with some of these signs. A couple of these will go to Jessica and Bo's family, and we'll also have one here to put into the training room. So we'll always have a copy of this for us as well. Now we are going to move into the roll call for the troopers from Lafayette who have been killed in the line of duty. Detail.
Honor guard.
Attend. Hut. We are assembled here this day to honor our departed comrades, to perpetuate the memory of our dead, to reverently commemorate the service of those who have given their lives in the performance of their duty, and of those who have died serving the state of Indiana as members of our department. Trooper Paul V. Minneman, Logansport, Indiana, Lafayette Post. Appointed September 1st, 1935. Died May 27th, 1937, from gunshot wounds received while attempting to apprehend members of the Brady Gang. Sergeant John R. Miller, Lafayette, Indiana, Lafayette Post. Appointed September 1, 1941. Died September 5th, 1955, in a plane crash near Thorntown, Indiana, while on Labor Day patrol. The military pilot of the plane was also killed. Trooper John H. Powell, Otterburn, Indiana, Lafayette Post. Appointed September 1, 1954. Died February 27, 1959, from injuries sustained when he was struck by a vehicle while placing an electronic speed timing device in the roadway. Trooper Oscar E. Mills, Hobart, Indiana, Lafayette Post. Appointed September 16, 1955. Died November 30, 1957, from injuries sustained in an automobile crash in Carroll County while pursuing a vehicle traveling at a high rate of speed. Trooper Richard G. Brown, Lebanon, Indiana, Lafayette Post. Appointed May 1, 1955. Died September 27, 1967, from injuries sustained when he was struck by a vehicle while investigating a traffic crash on I-74 in Boone County. Trooper Todd A. Berman, Delphi, Indiana, Lafayette Post. Appointed December 9, 1990. Died July 29, 1993, when he was shot at close range with a high-powered rifle while assisting the Camden Town Marshal with the arrest of a disorderly subject. Trooper Peter Bo Stephen, Kokomo, Indiana, Lafayette Post. Appointed November 15, 2015. Died as a result of injuries sustained in an automobile crash while responding to a call for assistance from another trooper who was holding several suspects at gunpoint. These are our brother officers and fellow employees who have passed on. When they departed this life that we still enjoy, they left but memories of warm friendships and of loyalty and devotion to the service. The greatest tribute in our power to pay our departed comrades is this reverent acknowledgement of our obligation to remember them. It has been said that the strength of the Indiana State Police Department lies in the character of its men and women. You and I will long remember the deeds of our deceased, who are ever mindful of their public trust. They have set the pattern we must follow in the days and years to come. Thus we, who remain, do reaffirm a pledge that we will continue to uphold the ideals and traditions for which they died. Order! Arm! Detail! Parade! Rest! In a moment, I'm going to ask Chaplain McReynolds to come back up and give our benediction. Once his benediction is through, we will be dismissing the detail, and at that time, our ceremony will have concluded. I want to thank everybody once again for being here, and you are welcome to join us for lunch that's being served in the garage area at the rear of the post. Chaplain McReynolds.
Let us pray. O God, who gives us life and who has promised to be with us always, the warmth of the sun and the gentle breeze remind us of your love, which always surrounds us. Precious memories, how they linger, how they ever fill my soul. In the stillness of the midnight, precious sacred scenes unfold. O Lord, we have so many memories, cherished memories, but we don't understand why the good die young. We're making such an invaluable contribution to our world. We do know, O Lord, that even their tragic death cannot destroy their invaluable contribution and the inspiration they provide for us to continue serving. Be with Jessica, Harper, other members of the family. May they be comforted and consoled. We thank you for their strength and their courage and their love. O Lord, may we continue to honor those who have served and sacrificed by continuing to serve with courage, with dedication, and with sacrifice, knowing that you are with us. Be with those in law enforcement. Be with those who ride in remembrance. Be with those who maintain our highways, and be with those who serve in the political arena. Be with all of us. May we be inspired, and may we be blessed, and may we never forget. O God of love and power, thy people's shield in danger's hour, from rock and tempest, fire and foe, protect them wheresoe'er they go, that evermore shall rise to thee glad praise from land and air and sea. Keep us strong, keep us safe, and keep us free. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain. Detail! Attend! Hut! First Sergeant Dunkel, dismiss the detail.
Detail dismissed.
Dismissed.